Hey guys, welcome back to another East Coast Camp Chasers video. I'm going to review one of the devices that I use whilst camping. This device is also used on a daily basis with my business. So it's a Dewalt tire inflator, or I like to call the inflation station. Consists of a high pressure side and a high volume side. So obviously for motor vehicles, push bikes, and any other sort of device that needs to monitored inflation, we have that. They're the high flow, obviously for things like your camping beds and inflatable mattresses, self-inflating mattresses. If you want to supercharge the time it takes to fill those guys up, you can run on that high volume side. Start with the high pressure side. So we have our standard brass Presta fitting. That will obviously do your vehicles, your push bikes. With that, it also comes with the shrouder valve, which is a more narrower stem found on a lot of the newer sort of push bikes, mountain bikes and stuff at the moment. Have these shrouder valves. I know my son's bike has the shrouder valve, and my new bike has just the Presta valves. Comes with the attachment there to do your shrouders, shrider, however you want to pronounce it, and the Prestas, which will do a majority of cars, trucks, small utility transport type things like your push bikes and so forth. Nice flexible hose, decent length hose there as well. Feels like it would last a fair bit of time. It feels like really good quality. Probably a combination of like a silicon rubber material that the hose is made out of. Yeah, quite easy to use. Most of my gear I have now is Dewalt gear. The only downside I've found, so we'll talk about pros and cons, but one of the cons is that I can't use some of my older batteries in these newer units because they've gone to their 2.0 system, whereas the original batteries, the attachment slots and stuff for those on the tools and the batteries are different, so they can't be used on these newer models of tools. So on the front here we obviously have an on-off switch. We can turn this on using the on-off switch. Two illuminated panels at the front here. One is your desired pressure gauge, all digital LED, and the other side obviously is the pressure that you are obviously setting it to. So it has this little you should call it like a turntable style of switch here on the front, so you can increase and decrease. I'll actually put up a still shot of what this panel looks like up close, so it's not going to actually come up on the camera that well here, but this will adjust your pressures up and down. Most vehicles will run around about 2.3 bar, so this only measures in bars and not PSI, but it's not hard to work out the ratio of PSI to bars on this unit. So I'll set that to 2.3, which is around about your standard bar measurement for most motor vehicles. It may come up on camera, it may not, so I'll just in the center of that turntable style switch there's a play and a pause symbol, which is your start and stop button. So I'll just cover the valve here and I'll press that. This operates at around about 77 decibels when it's at full capacity. So we obviously, like most compressors, will run at a certain decibel. Once you start to load up the pressure and put resistance against the system, it'll actually be a lot louder. So we'll start that up now. And you overheat, that actually got louder as I put resistance against it. So if it is showing up on camera, I think it actually is, there's a little LED indicator there where it's got like a rainbow graph, so the bars will go up in segments on that rainbow graph, and when you release the pressure or remove this, that graph goes back down, which is doing slowly now, back to 0. Cuts out automatically, as you heard there when it got up to pressure, so me blocking that off has allowed that pressure to build up and get to its maximum that I've selected, which is 2.3 bar. Nice sturdy clip in there for the hose, so it slots in nicely on each side of it. Also comes with a needle valve for doing your sports balls and so forth. Your little needle valve, metal needle valve there is, slots into the side here, and then it comes with a reducer valve too, so you could also use that on the high pressure side to do your air beds and stuff. So if you wanted to run this on a certain PSI when doing your ball inflations or your camp bed inflations, and you knew that you had it set at a certain pressure that you could use that device at, then you could use that reducer. So they just sit there on the side, clamped in. This side is also the inlet and outlet for the high volume hose, which we'll talk about now. With this high volume side, it doesn't actually regulate pressure and cut out, so once it's turned on, you have to pretty much keep an eye on the unit and what it's actually doing and what pressure it's going to run at. So it has an inlet and an outlet. So in here is actually a couple of pins and what you call a pin lock. So those who are familiar with particularly home brewing, we either have a pin lock set up or we have a quick disconnect setup, so a ball bearing type quick disconnect setup, which is pretty common with a lot of the pneumatic air tool systems, where they just slide the sleeve back and slot it in to the male and female. These run on the pin lock system, so we can put that in there. This bottom one here is the outlet, so it's going to be the side that you use to inflate. Once again, on the front of this unit we have a button in the center here, so it selects tire inflation or the high flow side of the unit here. So we can press that, as we can see here on this little diagram. It's got like a symbol that illustrates that it's blowing air, like a puff of air, like you'll see on your weather channels, and that's also the same diagram that's on this soft touch button that selects between the high pressure and the high flow. So we've got the high flow selected there, same thing, just pressing that start stop button. And as you hear, as it's got resistance then it increased to its 77 decibels, or its highest pressure on that. Same with the top one here. If we want to deflate something like an airbed or something we need to deflate a lot quicker, we can lay on and put pressure on that device, and we can also hook this up and extract the air out of it, so deflate the airbed or whatever it might be we want to deflate. Once again, this has some really good slots there to lock these hoses in. Now, one of the cons I've found, that if this just sort of flaps around on the side, this is a needle valve set up as well that goes onto the end of the hose, so if you need to a step or reducer, that's always there to use as well. Once it's in place, it actually sits below the foot placings on this unit, so it can't be connected at all times. It's got to be disconnected and sit there sort of flapping around. Not a huge thing, but it would have been I guess a better benefit if that was to be able to be connected and stay connected while it's in storage. 11 bar, maximum 160 psi, 18 volt unit. We're running these 5 amp hour battery, which is the version or 2.0 version of the batteries. Easy just to tilt this back, slide it in and out. Lithium ion, 18 volt, 5 amp hour battery, slides in and out nicely, clips in, sits perfectly, keeps the foot placement of this unit, sits well within that cavity. We can run a 1.5 amp hour, which is a slimline battery. I've got 4 of these. These work really well for emergency type things, so I'll have those there with me just in case one of the 5 amp hour runs low. So I use a 5 amp hour with my my battery drill that I keep in my vehicle, so I have drilling tent pegs for hard ground, just your normal soft ground pegs that you push in, obviously sand pegs and soft dirt pegs as well. But so I will use that drill with the 5 amp hour as well, and I will keep these 1.5 amp hours in the vehicle with me as well. Also, same thing, slots in and out quite nicely. It does have a bit more of a gap here underneath the footwell, so I can actually slide my hand without tilting this unit. I can slide my hand underneath, grab hold of the battery and the clip, and clip it out quite easily. So it works quite well with those 2 styles of batteries. We then go on to the 54 volt battery. So this is a step down battery. It obviously runs 54 volts, so I can run my whippersnipper, my blowers, my 54 volt Dewalt gear, and it steps down to 18 volt as well. So you can't use your 18 volt smaller batteries into your 54 volt units. Doesn't work the other way, but you can grab your 54s and run them in your 18 volts. I'll slot this one in, and we'll see, this is where another con comes into it. Using the 54 volt battery, we now have a gap under our foot placement on this unit, and it's actually sitting up on the battery's taken the complete weight of the unit now, which makes it a little bit unsteady. But with the 54 volt battery running at 18 volts, 6 amp hour, longer running time, obviously more power there to run for longer periods. Definitely a bonus to have the step down 54s to 18 volts. I still prefer just to run with the 5 amp hours, 18 volts, because it runs this unit constantly, day in, day out, for anywhere up to 2 weeks, and I can inflate anywhere up to 4 sets of tyres a day for at least 2 weeks on this unit. So it is a pretty good unit. Can't fault Dewalt as a brand. There's lovers and there's haters. These guys are a daughter or sister company to Black & Decker Stanley, so Dewalt's not actually the main brand. Any sort of servicing and other sorts of stuff, when you deal with these guys, when you go through the website or you go through a call centre, you're speaking with the guys that work for Black & Decker Stanley. What's the other feature of this? We've got a little hidden compartment, not hidden compartment, but a nice little compartment on the side here. Inside there we've got a DC 12 volt cigarette lighter cable, and our jack mount in there for that cable. I won't pull it out because it's a little bit difficult to get back in there, even though I never unpacked it. It's still coiled up the way it came out of the box. And then you can also buy the AC adapter, so you can run it straight off the wall I'm not sure whether having that AC adapter, I haven't really looked into it, whether the AC adapter will charge the battery whilst it's plugged into AC. But always good to have that 12 volt cigarette lighter DC cable, plug it into the side of the unit, which is inside this compartment here, and then run it off your vehicle. So you don't always have to have a battery with you. So if you do get stuck in a situation where you don't have charging any of your batteries, and I've got a magnitude of batteries, and I'm very anal about charging and discharging the batteries quite often, so I rotate my batteries constantly so that we get maximum life out of them. If you ever get caught out without a battery and you are within reach of your vehicle and you are using this unit around your vehicle, you do have that capacity to just plug it in and run it straight off your DC motor vehicle cigarette lighter socket. The other good thing about this unit is, as long as you've got it turned on, there's a little headlight icon here on a soft touch switch. That's going to give us a torch. So we do have a little LED light there as well, which will come in handy if you're doing anything in the dark. That turns on and off, as providing you've got the unit turned on, that torch will work. The other thing with these new 2.0 style batteries is the slimlines don't come with it. They're pretty much just a basic type of battery, emergency type battery I call them. If you ever get stuck and you just need a little bit of power for a drill or something, those slimlines are great. But these newer type ones have a battery indicator on them. So on the front here we've got a soft touch battery, 3 LED lights that indicate commonly when you've got 3 bars you've got a full battery, and when you get down to 2 bars you're approaching anywhere from 3/4 to half, and when you've got 1 bar you're certainly within that last quarter, and then it cuts out completely once it gets to a point where it can't actually run that tool that you've got running there. So the 54 volt tools do burn out quite quickly with the way they're used, because they do have a regulating or throttle type button on the tools, particularly the whippersnipper and the blowers, where you can just slightly, much like any sort of accelerator or throttle. If you touch it lightly you get a certain amount of power, and if you have it halfway it steps up more power. Have it at full capacity, which I pretty much run the whippersnipper and the blowers at. They do discharge quite quickly, but you can certainly get a full lawn done, decent amount of blowing done off of 2 batteries. I have 4 of these, 4 of the 5 amp hours and 4 of the 1.5 amp hours, which get me through using all the tools I've got here: whippersnipper, blower, chainsaw, reciprocating saw, impact drills, standard drills, hammer drill, and basically anything that I feel that I'm going to need around the yard or while I'm camping. Reciprocator saw goes with me camping, and I'll tell you what, I've used that multiple times camping, or chopping up firewood before I go. So I might go and collect logs from around the reserves and stuff around where we live, and anywhere up to sort of that 100 mil in diameter. Reciprocator saw, no problem. I haven't used a chainsaw as much, but yeah, these are a skin only or tool only purchase, generally through Bunnings or Toolex or places like that. Sydney Tools is another one that sell these units, and most of them do have a redemption, so a battery charge redemption. They do run quite often as part of the I guess they sell on consignment with Dewalt, so they offer these redemptions. You've got to go through Dewalt, Black & Decker, Stanley to get your redemptions. Sometimes they will hand the batteries over at the stores that you purchase from, where it will be an in-store redemption or in-store offer. This ended up costing me $185 while it was on special. They're generally about $249, I think, from memory. And I've done the redemption through the website, so I ended up with just the tool. Done the redemption, I end up getting the battery and the charger, which is one of the 5 amp hour plus the charger with this unit. $185, can't go wrong. Anyway, that's a review of this particular tool. It is always in the vehicle with me. Use it from day to day, and also most definitely use it while we're out doing the camping. You're not always going to need to play around with your tyre pressures, but there's plenty of even just short tracks that you can go on out there, whether it be mud and loose gravel, boulder type tracks where you need to decrease your tyre pressures. Run lower from your standard 36 to somewhere anywhere down to sometimes 20 psi on the rear, depending how much load you got, and 18 psi on the fronts for some of these boulder tracks. This is great, you know, go and get your King's thumpers and all that sort of stuff, but I've never had to bother. I've got this unit and it's served me quite well. Anyway, thanks for watching. Remember, like, share, subscribe. Much appreciated to those guys who have already subscribed and showed interest in my new adventures, my lifestyle moving forward, lifestyle of soberness or sobriety, and all new adventures for me. Cheers.